So somewhere along the way, work became a bad thing, and work-life balance became a big thing. And honestly, if you enjoy your work, if you're passionate about your work, and you're passionate about other things too, it's fine. You're a normal human being. But you also may be a person that might be interested in starting your own thing. So you have to be able to really enjoy work. You have to be able to take on financial risks. It's going to require more time than you ever thought possible. There will be stress, and you'll be learning along the way. And you have to be able to do things that others are not willing to do to be successful. And I'm not talking about bad things. I'm talking about working on weekends. Just the fact that you're here is obviously a testament to your interest in going further. So the first thing that you start with is an idea. You identify a problem and you define your value proposition. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I tried to put some cute little comics in here, but things that might resonate with you, and I'm happy to provide these slides as well. So what is the problem, and what is your solution? And then how long will it last? These are questions that you need to ponder. Is it a long-term fix? Is there growth in the solution? Meaning, can you then, if, for example, since we're at Pittcon, if you have a new packing for a column, and by the way, I have an advanced degree in PharmaPhixx, so this is perfect. Say you have a new packing idea for a column, could that then go into other industries like DS manufacturing or even outside of the biotech industry? How does this compare to what's already available? So if you're looking to do a service offering, maybe it's okay, like I'll use sterile manufacturing. In 2014, when we started Berkshire Sterile, we set out to basically be a disruptor and use new technology in an industry that hasn't currently been done. And there were about, I think 11 CMOs in the US at that time, or maybe there's a little bit more, but over the first 5 years it really collapsed and it became like 11. And then when 2020 hit, a bunch of people jumped in because they saw value in it, and now there's over 21. Is that enough? Probably not, given the amount of drug development that we're currently experiencing. So it may be okay to do something that somebody else is doing. And you need to define your value proposition. So when I was at Catalan, they asked me, so what is your value proposition? And I had never heard that. I was like, what do you mean? So you need to be able to understand how you are setting yourself apart uniquely, differently. So this is a really cute little thing about somebody thought, oh, there's no place on the street that sells books and pods, so therefore I'm going to set up shop that does that. But does somebody else want that? And then how many people want that? And is it affordable? Can you make money doing it? So if you don't make money doing it, it's called a nonprofit, and it's a passion project. So it depends on how much money you can collect that you can give away if you can't make money eventually on it. Okay, so building the foundation. So let's talk a little bit about that, creating the business model. Okay, so you have the easiest, which is the sole proprietorship. So this is for solo entrepreneurs, and maybe this is where you start. You're testing an idea. You set this up. It's really low cost. It gives you full control. The cons are you still have personal liability, and it's harder to raise funds. So let's talk about why you want a business model. Like the reason why people incorporate businesses is because they want to protect themselves on the liability side. So, and this is whether, let me just say, this is across the board. So if you're into renting an apartment or a home that you own, you want to put that into a limited liability so that the people that are renting can't sue you directly. This puts a barrier between you and them. Okay, the next one, which is often used, is an LLC. The Berkshire Sterile was an LLC. So small startups, consulting firms, we sold for about 250 people. It has limited liability, flexible tax structure, and fewer formalities. The cons, if you're going to take venture capital funding, it's going to be a problem. And then you have higher self-employment tax. So in order to address the self-employment tax, and this is on the profits that are coming out, you might look at an S corp. So this kind of gives you an idea. And then if we go to the C corp, which is really used when you have venture money that you bring in. So we'll talk more about money and financing, but you really have to be a C corp. And what are the negatives of the C corp? Well, you're going to pay taxes as a corporation. It doesn't flow through to you directly. So that's a huge problem because you're going to pay double tax. You'll pay it on the corporate level, and then any profits that you take out, you'll get tax on that at a personal level as well. But there are some advantages to that we're not going to discuss. If you hold on to it for a period of time, even if you have to take VC, so something to consider. But this gives you just a concept. So let's talk about questions. Will you seek outside investors? Okay, and this will be dependent on what type of outside investors. So C corp may be best. Now let me just also say that you can start off as a sole proprietor and go to a C corp, or go to a C corp and go back to say an S corp. So it's not cut in stone, but let me also say that these are legal things that you would have an attorney do, and it's just a hassle. So if you can figure out how you're going to be before you start, when you're starting, it's really helpful. You want to ask your question, do you want pass-through taxation? So you're going to pay less if this is the case. And it's not just about pass-through profit, it's about pass-through loss. So I would say about 10 years ago, people were saying, oh, how does Trump ever not pay taxes? Well, I knew how he didn't pay taxes, and that is he had huge loss, which you can carry forward. So if you invest in your business and your infrastructure, that is considered capitalizable, and you can carry that depreciation forward, and you can take it off of your taxes. So your tax accountant will take you through that and what would be best for you as you start your venture. So losses are great because they take a lot of taxes off the table while you're getting going. You ultimately will pay when you sell. And you need liability protection, but one flexibility, then you go with an LLC. And then planning to stay small and avoid complexity, sole proprietor or LLC. So these are questions that you can ask yourself. Okay, getting funding. So we have a graph. Dilution of equity, that's how much you own of your business, and cost to borrow. So the first thing you start with when you start a business is you look at yourself. And if you're only willing to commit, a few dollars to this, and you're hoping to get everybody else to come in and give you a lot of money, you can say, okay, I'm fine working for somebody else because nobody's going to give you money. It's a very rare event. And they want to see you highly leveraged. They want to know that if this business crashes and burns, that you are going to be personally hurt by it. So keep that in mind. So you want to be able to basically mortgage your house and the farm, if you will, to be able to get this thing, because that's how committed to your idea you are. Family and friends, they are great sources of investment. They will hate you though if you fail. So be aware of that. You really need to have that discussion with your family and friends and say there's no guarantees, but I really think this is going to work out. The next thing is banks. So if you get an interest rate of say 12-15% from a bank, that is the cheapest money you will ever get. And people are like, how's that possible? I can go borrow money, or not borrow money, but I can go, get money from an investor, and it's so much cheaper that they don't charge me interest. Well, but they take equity. So, you have to keep this in mind when you're getting money. It's best to try and hold on to as much equity as possible, and believe me, it will pay off if your business is a success. And then there's also state and federal grants. Now, beware of IP control. So, some may require access to the IP to make it public, and this was one of the bigger problems during COVID, because people didn't want to take the government money, because it did require many of them to give access to the IP. And the other thing is that it's a lot of paperwork. So there's a lot of different federal and state opportunities, but usually it's set up for businesses that are already established and are making money. So it's not always true, but it is something to look into, and you may have to go and hire somebody to fill out all the paperwork. Then we have the angel investor, which is a great investor. That would be someone like myself who's interested in investing in you because they believe in what you can do. They know that you're committed to it, and they're going to take equity, but they're one person versus a big group of people. They will require you to, it will require likely a vote on your board. Sometimes they take majority share. But if you can't get it started without taking money, without losing equity, this may be your only option, okay? And then lastly, we have private equity, which takes typically more equity. So the cost to borrow, in my opinion, is very high. And they are also interested in really getting rid of the asset within 5 to 7 years. And they'll tell you, oh, we sometimes hold on to these things for 10 to 20 years. But if you think about your own portfolio, you don't want your financial, because these are big funds, holding on to things that really go past 10 years. But 5 to 7 is on average. All right, product development. So you need to protect things. So your intellectual property, IP, your trademarks, your copyrights, etc. And this is a cute little thing. You got cavemen trying to patent their rocks. So if somebody has a patent on what you're trying to do, and you're trying to sell it, and you infringe on it, you don't have a business. So these are things to check into before you go in. In terms of copyrights and trademarks, these are typically name focused. You can probably hold off on some of that. In the biotech industry, or the pharma industry, or any like smaller industry, you may have, it's not really that important in terms of the name. If you're going into fashion, you're basically branding the name. So it becomes a little bit more important in that regard. You also need to develop a machine that, I want to give you an example. So if you develop a machine that, say, can analyze blood, you need to patent the technique and make sure the data capture is compliant with either any ISO standard or Part 211 or whatever regulation you will sell into in future sales. Because if you don't, you won't be able to sell it to anyone. So these are things to keep in mind. Okay, now you get your idea, you get your business established in the way that you need it established, you've protected whatever IP. Now, how do I build it? Okay. So, first stop. So if we consider this bus stops, okay? Making sure the structure, making sure the item or structuring service, hire a good head of operations, or have one on the startup team, okay? Operations is key to any innovation or company, doesn't matter whether it's service or widget, and you must have a good structure to be able to rely on your team. So that includes, in your world, quality, manufacturing, HR, project management, materials, etc. You don't have to have all these people on day one. In every company that I co-founded, it was like 2 or 3 people, and then you just keep expanding. Second stop on this bus ride is sales. You must be able to sell what you make or offer. And this seems like, oh, that's a no-brainer. But many forget this. Okay, it's like, oh, I have this great idea, but they don't have any way or thought, and I've talked to entrepreneurs that go down this road, they don't even understand the sales process and what they're trying to sell into. And you need to understand this or get somebody that does, and either put them at the founder level or make sure that you've got somebody that's strong in that area. You can't get by without it, and if you are not a salesperson, acknowledge it and get a winner immediately. Get someone that is technical and sales-oriented, which are hard to find, okay, and critical at the beginning, and they must be a closer. What I mean by that is they must be able to go out and actually get the POs in. Okay, third stop on this ride is finance. You should have a good finance person on your team. You can hire this part-time. They're going to forecast your spend rate and help with funding, help get all those documents in for loans or whatever you're looking to do. You will need a CFO or a part-time one, and if you don't have one, and your business will definitely suffer financially and overall hurt the business. So if you think you're great at accounting, this is an area that can really be a time sink, and it would be best to outsource this. Okay, establishing facilities and equipment. So now we've got a dream team together. We're going to make the product. We're going to make the service. We may have to have a facility. So making a widget. So I'll just use this out of your garage. It's great for a prototype, but this is not going to fly with the more heavily regulated days that we're in today. You'll need to get a copy of whatever you need to comply to and set it up. For services, you need to make sure you have a good quality assurance system in place that monitors documents and make sure that you can support what you're offering. And when you go out to sell into the industry, this is going to be inspected. So be aware of this as you're going forward. Growth. Okay, so now you've got everything set up. You're starting to make sales. What do? Okay, so the field of dreams is all Hollywood. Okay, it's just that. It's a dream. Many examples have shown this. I was going to talk a little bit about Apple. Basically, they had really great vision, but they did not do a good job on executing on sales. In fact, they almost went bankrupt in 1995, and it was actually Bill Gates that came in and gave them $150 million to save them. Otherwise, there would be no Apple, or there would be a different Apple available. So the people that you know now as being incredibly successful took a long time to get there. We hear about these kids that, like Mark Zuckerberg, that make it overnight. He didn't make it overnight either. So I would encourage you to dispel any of that and know that it's going to be a long road and it's going to require complete dedication. So it's critical that you think about sales even prior to building a company. If you're not a salesperson, you can ask any of your friends if you are, and they will tell you. And if the answer comes back no, then you need to find one, and preferably make them a co-founder, maybe even CEO. Okay, remember the CEO's whole job is to sell your business and to manage it. Okay, so this may be a really good person, and maybe you're the COO. So think about these roles and think about where the vision is coming from. So let's talk a little bit about vision. This comes from the entrepreneur, you, has this vision. Okay, how are you going to continue to bring this vision in? Well, you need to be able to talk to the clients. So understanding and listening to these clients, and they are going to help you see where this business can grow and become bigger. Okay, and the sales interface, once you lose touch with this, and many big businesses do this, okay, they kind of lose touch. Like, I'll give you the IBM story. IBM was huge, it's still a very large organization, but Bill Gates, Microsoft, actually went to them and offered to sell 50% of his company to them, and they passed it up because they didn't see his vision, and what a loss that was. So you need, as you grow, to keep in touch with this. Okay. Also, if we look at pricing, you might have to really sell at cost to start this out, because you might have the greatest thing in the world and it fixes this continuous problem, and everybody says, oh, this is great, I am having this problem all the time. But until they try you, until they start using you, they're not going to understand. They've got to buy without you for this long. It doesn't require them to do anything to continue getting by. So keep this in mind. You can increase pricing later as you get more accepted. And I want you to understand one mantra, okay? Everyone in your company should say this every day. So you've got your business started. It's starting to really take off. You're like, got to put a lot of effort in. It's been really scary. I can finally breathe. I'm like over the initial hump. But again, there's been a lot of businesses that have climbed and, they'll use Blockbuster. And, they've fallen. So, because they haven't kept in front of it or they haven't scaled. Blockbuster is not a good example of that, but there are many businesses where it's like, oh, well, I'm here and I'm never going to be able. So the clients, the people that are buying just move on and they go to the next person because they need a bigger facility. They may love you. So this is where your CFO, your part-time financial person, can be extremely helpful with this to get the required capital to grow. So you have to be looking ahead. You're doing pretty good. You see sort of sales continuing, getting bigger. You need to be able to scale at the time. So people aren't going to wait around for a couple of years for you to do that. They're going to have to go get it somewhere else. So keep this in mind. If you need a lot of money and you can't get it from a bank or an angel, then you may have to go into venture capital. And you'll basically at that time present less risk to them, and you'll be very, oh, this is great, I can see the vision, they are here, EBITDA positive, this is a great thing, they're likely going to want control. But sometimes you have to weigh, okay, well, if I take this money and I give up control or some portion of control, I'm going to get a much bigger payout. So this is when you really start doing the calculations, because a little is a little, and a lot could be even more. So scaling prior to critical needs is key to exponential growth. If you're telling customers in 2 years, we'll have the capacity, they likely won't wait. You need to always be looking forward in your growth. And at Berkshire Sterile, we did that, and we did it really well. We were able to take that company, we started in 2016, we sold it in 2023, so it was very short tenure for the company, and it did extremely well because we were looking forward. Okay, challenges. You must always see your company as succeeding, and it likely will. If you are constantly seeing hurdles, you will see them constantly. Take each day as a new adventure and keep the vision of your company secure within you. This is something that you really need to do. About anything. This can be taken across your entire life, but especially when you're building a business. You alone see where it can go. Don't lose sight of that. Don't let these little issues become a distraction. I remember at Berkshire Sterile having the bank come in, and we were behind because the equipment was behind. And they were saying, so, Andrea, like, what are your thoughts on this? And I'm like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Can't you see where this is going to be? And they were looking at me like it was crazy. And, like a year later, we were killing it with our productivity, our EBITDA was great, and they're like, oh, we see it now. So sometimes you're the only one that can see it, but keep it, because it will happen. Funding, we discussed this, keep an eye on this, unless, of course, you have unlimited funds, which most don't, and be ready to get the funding before you need it, because here's the thing, if you need funding, it's going to come at an extremely high cost, and this is where you cue your CFO. So you should be meeting with them on a monthly basis and making sure everything is in good shape and getting prepared. You may have to press your sales team to get more sales in or whatever it is. And usually there's a sales cycle. So if it takes you 6 months to get a sale in and another 6 months to deliver it, that's the cycle. So you're not going to get a quick fix. Shortages. So with COVID, we've seen the shortages of both people and supplies. Make sure you know the lead times and can hire the best people out there. And just so you know, you're likely going to hire people you're going to outgrow. So you have to keep this in mind as you're building a business. You hire people, you're convincing them to come to you because it's like, look, we have this great vision and we can pay you, and not as much as you probably deserve, and they're taking a risk coming go and you work for Pfizer, you don't really have to be too concerned that they're going to fold up shop tomorrow. With these smaller companies, you do have to be concerned about it. So you may be able to get the best talent at day one, which is, say, C talent, and then as you grow, you get B talent, and as you grow a little bit more, you get the A talent. The A people are like, oh, I see this now. So, and you can give them stock options, and there's a thing called phantom stock, which is a really great way to basically give stock, and when it sells, it basically becomes real. So this is a great retention tool as well. So you're sharing the profits of the successful business, but you're keeping the losses, and you're keeping any profits during the course of it to yourself. Leadership cannot be understated. If you're new to leading a business, get a good coach. And they will help you with the structure of a team as it's growing and work with you, build the company, creating less chaos. I wish I'd done this. And I did it kind of late in the game, and it really worked well even late, but I wish I'd done it at the beginning. And it really can transform your business growth. Make sure your coach is not your shrink, okay? So they're not there to listen to you complain about how difficult life is. Okay, remember our first mantra was like, always thinking positive about your business. And that's a different type of person. You need your therapist for that. What you want your business coach to do is really work on you and your business and making sure that both of you are showing up and growing this business the way it needs to be done. And if they're asking you how you feel and, you know, like getting too involved in these more personal side things, not focusing on this, then you should probably switch coaches because there's all different types. Okay, closing. So, after all this, the question is, do you really want to start a business? If the answer is yes, that's awesome. You can reach out to me. And I'm happy to share anything that I can provide to you. It's very helpful to hear from other people. You should talk to them as well. People that have built businesses. Make sure the IP is protected and your company is set up correctly. We've discussed all the ways to get funding and start with the easiest way. That means your own pockets secure. And you may not think that, because if you don't think that, then please do not start a business, because it's not going to work well for you. We have discussed all the ways. You want to secure your sales pathway. You want to understand it. You want to understand the length of time, how it works. You need to keep the vision going. Remember, you will succeed if you can show that value and sell it. And you want to keep an eye on growth. And you want to grow well prior to needing to. Keep an eye on your finances. And with that, I want to thank you for your time. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. And any questions?
Thank you so much, Andrea. That was a great presentation, and I learned a lot. So we all know doing a business from idea to real product, it takes a lot of tips, and it was very valuable. I know we are a little bit behind the schedule, but let's take one question. How about that? No? Well, I know it's a lot of information to process, but if you have any questions, reach out to Andrea. So let's thank Andrea again so much. Really appreciate it for your flexibility. Yeah, thank you.
Have a great show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, bye-bye.